Show me the positive aspect of that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, they would say, well, we're able to have creativity, but you would obviously think that it's stifling or trying to make obsolete the true human creatives.
How is it creative to mimic me? What makes that, where's the creativity in that?
Well, let's be honest. It's been happening for a long time, Neo. Especially in the industry that you are in, you know, J-Lo, allegedly. Let's go.
You're basically just doing your best impression of me. I don't see the creativity in it. I don't understand.
When you look at it, and I hear you when, you know, there are concerns. I don't like being duped, right? When I think I'm trying to hear a particular artist, I want to support the artist. I don't want to have a cheap imitation. I wonder from the songwriting perspective, especially when someone's trying to piece together, oh, here's a style like Neo or a style like this artist, as opposed to going right to you, it's also a financial cost.
It can definitely be a financial cost. I'm one of the few artists in this game that doesn't necessarily do it for the money in it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a family and my family likes to eat. However, I do music because I love music and my music means something to me. So it runs a little deeper to me when you play me a song with my voice on it that I know I didn't sing all right. Like you're taking my livelihood from me. Like it's more than just the financial element of it. Yeah, you're making it a little bit harder for me to make money doing what I do the way that I do it. But at the same time, I've worked blood, sweat, and tears to learn how to do what I do. Like it makes me, okay, it goes to this. If there was a shoe that anybody in the world could put on and play just like any of the greatest NBA players on the face of the planet, how would the NBA players feel about that? Now anybody can play your game. Now people can come in and do exactly what you do, exactly the way you do it by simply putting on this shoe. Is that fair? Think about that NBA player that spent blood, sweat, and tears and years learning how to do what it is they do, the way that they do it so good to where they earn the right to be in the NBA. And here comes somebody with this shoe, with this magical shoe that can now do what it.
All right, so I can relate. I can see where he's coming from. It's like he is being pretty much stripped of his talent. You know, pretty much stripped of his talent. And when you talk about creativity and, oh my goodness, this is when we talk about a God-given talent, like your voice is going to be your God-given talent, right? Like imagine somebody infiltrating you. It's like an impersonation. It's like a replica. So yeah, I definitely feel where he's coming from. And if it's definitely impacting his pockets, it's something that we need to look out for. But you know, it's already in motion. Let's get on to the next story.
Exactly what you do.
You never thought you were going to get out. Why did you think that?
Because all the corruption that was in my case, I ain't thought I ever was going to get out. I ain't thought nobody would believe me.
We're showing a picture now of you with your son before you were incarcerated. You also have two sisters and you lost a brother while you were in prison. I mean, so much has happened, you say, in the world, but also in your family as well. So many experiences that you were completely deprived of. How do you keep your mind and your faith going, knowing that you didn't do it and you were innocent all along?
Well, my mom gave us the faith that we always had, but it's still in all, you still won't break down. You just can't run from it. You're going to break down. But, you know, you just got to take it one day at a time. You got to get back up. You know, you're going to have a lot of bad days. You're going to have some good days, but you just got to hope for the best. But it don't come for everybody.
It's so inspiring to hear you talk about getting back up and just trying to take it day by day. Jennifer, there were no fingerprints, no DNA that linked Ronald to any of this. Evidence, you say, was withheld by police and prosecutors during his trial. How in the world did this happen?
So, you know, what happened in this case is that police, as you mentioned, there were two witnesses who made inconsistent statements. But what Mr. Johnson and his trial attorney never knew is that they also were shown a photo lineup that included Mr. Johnson. They did not, identify him. They identified somebody else. And then for reasons we don't know, the police buried that photo lineup and instead went after Mr. Johnson. And none of this would have come to light had the Conviction Integrity Unit of DA Krasner's office not opened up its file and taken a look outside to find the hidden evidence.
Well, what prompted the office to take this case above all else?
Well, for one, Mr. Johnson, he was diligent. He and his family for over 3 decades were just dogged in their efforts to prove his innocence. And so they wrote the Conviction Integrity Unit, and they talked about what, the travesty that was his case. And I think that the fact that there was absolutely no evidence of his guilt, aside from these 2 witnesses who were completely unreliable, made the Conviction Integrity Unit think that there was something that they needed to look into.
I mean, the fact, Mr. Johnson, that law enforcement deliberately withheld evidence, how does that make you feel?
In the neighborhood I grew up in, they do that every day. Like, you'd be scared to even walk down the street. You don't know what they gonna do back then in 1990 and 89, and even going back. So, you just hope it's not you. And I'm like, when I got locked up, I'm like, nah, they can't do this. But they did, and I'm thinking that, okay, by the time I go to trial, they gonna get somebody else, because I know I didn't do it, and it just don't work like that.
Wow, that's sad. You get arrested, you go down, it had nothing to do with you, but you're down there taking a rap. And you know what? This is something that we don't talk about a lot, is the corruption in the police department. It's a lot of corruption down there. I've experienced it here in Tulsa. It still goes on to this day. It still goes on to this day. And the strength that I was born with, and I can't even, it's just like navigating. I don't know. It's you just learn to ride the wave out, ride the storm out. It's not a good feeling, I can say that. All right, let's get into our next story.
We were talking about you in the production meeting. You said people have less and less friends now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's a loser don't have friends?
That's a good question. And
Okay.
it's very hard to figure out, how Americans hang out across the country. There's, 320 million of us. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics has something called the American Time Use Survey, where they ask people how they spend their day. How much time do you spend cooking? How much time do you spend working? How much time do you spend socializing with people in person? And they found that in-person socializing has, for all Americans, declined by 25%. For men, declined by 30%. For non-married men, declined by 45%. And for young people and Black men, declined by 50%.
Whoa.
So we are now in a period where
What are they doing, Derek? What are they doing? If they're not social, what are they doing?
They seem to be watching a lot of TV. The truth is, one of the things that's growing the fastest is watching television alone. Yeah.
And this is my problem with it. Your loneliness is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Get your ass up and go outside. Like, hang out. Everything that you want to do is outside, man. Basketball is outside. We're walking around the lake is outside. Beautiful bodies are outside. We gotta get off the couch and go find ourselves with some sun.
You should go out with your friends, at least, not the same friends, but you should have a group of friends you go out with at least one day a week.
1 day a week?
Preferably on the weekend.
Oh, okay. 1 day a week. Okay. I thought you were saying once. I thought you were saying every day, once a day.
No.
Okay,
I
1 day a week.
You got a job
that.
and a life.
That.
At least 1 day on the weekend, you should go out with your friends, have a drink or a nice meal.
Well, you know what? I think that is a great idea. I have known, ever since, certain things have happened, we all know what that is. But some people have kind of distanced themselves, right? And, I've kind of done that as well because I've kind of isolated myself, just for my protection, right? But I do make it I am making it my duty to get, fit myself back in the community. But first of all, I got to feel safe in the community, So I totally understand that one. Maybe not all the way, but I get it. Yeah. All right, let's get into our next story.
Albuquerque police, you are being detained.
Police had plenty of horsepower chasing down a shoplifter in Albuquerque. How's that for body camera footage? Officials say they found $230 worth of stolen items on him after this John Wayne-style takedown. I had no idea this still happened in America.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he was.
We also are here.
He was actually out there on the horse, honey. He went out there to get them folks merchandise. They say he had $230 worth of merchandise, honey. That man was on that black Ferruccio horse. I love that horse. All right, now let's get into this. Crews working to open temporary alternate channel near bridge. Let's go. We got Gabe Cohen is the CNN respondent. Let's see what he has to say.
Hearing this morning, Sarah, for the first time from a man who was one of the last people to drive on the Key Bridge just before the collapse. He was heading to work that morning, and he crossed the Key Bridge just seconds, most likely, before it came down. I spoke to him just a few minutes ago right here. Take a listen to what he told me.
It's really, it's hard to believe. I feel sorry for those workers. I really do. I mean, they're doing their job, but, they lost their lives. So it's hard to, I rode right by them. I saw all of them. Just a minute before they probably died.
So you can hear the emotion there.
Wow, just imagine going across the bridge and eventually the bridge collapses. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Sarah, it's something we have heard from so many people here in Baltimore over the past 6 days.
I was 5 years old when I remembered that I was crying when they don't let me wear women's clothes. I feel that I'm a woman. I was trapped in a wrong body. I want to go to Thailand to have the sex reassignment surgery because it is my dream.
Many transgender women, like Bianca Bilala, travel to Bangkok for gender affirmation surgery, which is either not available or affordable in their home countries.
I live really far from the civilization in the Philippines, so traveling to Thailand is not that really easy. It took me 10 hours from my place to Thailand. It was the longest journey I have traveled in my entire life, and it was amazing.
Bianca chose a clinic in Bangkok that offered the procedure for just over $2,000 after receiving a much higher quote from a doctor in her country.
When I go to Thailand, first thing we need to do is we need to go to the clinic to have this psychological test. And after that, the day after tomorrow, I have my surgery. I was really nervous because I heard a lot of complications, ladies that had problems in their surgeries. I was worried that there's a problem. What if I'm going to die because of the surgery? The operation room that shocked me because I've been to many surgeries, right? And I know what the operating room looks like, but it's quite different. But I don't really mind, so I just pray and lie in their bed. When I woke up after surgery, I was really happy because the surgery went well. Some of the nurses, they don't know how to speak in English. You need to sign language, but it's okay.
After spending about 3 weeks in Thailand recovering, Bianca got back home to the Philippines.
Going back home, it was really hard because no one accompanied me. My mother, she gave me a flower when she picked me up in the airport, and she was very happy because she had already a daughter. Not all the transgender women can get this kind of surgery. It's not easy to get that money. I went to Dr. Tap because it was cheap and I don't have a lot of money. And even if it's cheap, he had fulfilled the dreams of the transgender. I'm a woman now. I'm now confident to my body.
All right. Congratulations to her. She said, "It is my dream." Woman says she risked it all for gender affirming surgery in Thailand. Now, listen here. I have heard, the girls going over to Thailand and having that surgery, and it is a big surgery. And so you definitely want to do it the right way. Save up your money and go to a doctor that is equipped to do that kind of surgery. All right, let's get into our next story.
Essentially what you're saying is that we went from this era of, you called it play-based childhood, to now it's
Okay, so this story is here's when a social psychologist recommends letting your child use smartphones and social media. Let's go.
smartphone based, and the consequences that are so obvious from that.
That's right. So one of the things I try to do in the book is not just say, the sky is falling, look at how bad the mental health stats are. I take a long time in the book to go through, what is childhood? Why do we have it? Why is human childhood so long? And once you see all the things we have to do in childhood, developing our social skills, taking risks, and you see that we were doing that all the way up until the 1990s. Kids were doing that from 5 million BC until the 1990s. We start reducing that, we're overprotective, but their mental health doesn't plummet until they trade in their flip phones for smartphones. And that all happens between 2010 and 2015. That's the great rewiring, because a flip phone doesn't take up every minute of your life, but once you get a smartphone, it does. And childhood, as we knew it for millions of years, is kind of over.
And you basically, a quote that you said that really stuck out to me, you said, we've overprotected our children in the real world and we've underprotected them online. You want to see changes here with these companies, not in the sense of cleaning up content and fixing that. You believe it's bigger than that.
That's right. Everyone focuses on the content. The latest data shows that American kids are spending about 5 hours a day on average just on social media, just social media. You add in all the other stuff and you're up to 8 to 10 hours a day on their phones and other screen devices. That pushes out just about everything else. Now, there's a lot of efforts to say, well, let's clean it up. Let's if they're going to spend 10 hours a day, let's at least make it not so much suicide content and let's make it nicer stuff. It's still 10 hours a day. It means they're still sleeping less, they're exercising less, they're seeing their friends much, much less, they're not studying as much, they're distracted all the time. So my point is, we can't possibly make social media safe for middle school kids. It's just absurd. Middle school is where the greatest damage is done, especially to girls. We have to just get it all out. I'm not saying ban phones legally. I'm saying we need a norm. All parents are thinking like, when's the right age? And they give a phone early because everyone else did. But if we can just say, let's get it all out of middle school, no smartphones till high school, just give your kid a flip phone or an Apple Watch, that would go a long way.
Which is what you've done with your own kids.
That's right. Well, I didn't know any better when I first gave my son an iPhone in 4th grade. But I have delayed social media. I made it clear to them, no social media of any kind in middle school.
Because you describe these foundational reforms, and one of them is no smartphones before high school, no social media before 16. You think schools should be phone free and more playtime and independence. Yep, I think a lot of parents are like, yes, sure, yeah, I like that. But there's kind of this sense, it seems, of resignation and not free and more playtime.
Well, listen, I stopped it right here because, okay, it says no smartphones before high school, no social media before 16. And then it says phone-free schools, more playtime and independence. Listen, I can totally agree with that because coming up, I remember being outside playing, be in the house before the street lights come on. And it's like you just get creative and you just social, you're social. As long as, the kids, you know where your kids are and things like that. Yeah, let them kids get outside. Keep your eyes on them. Start taking them to the parks and things like that. Let's go.
Time and independence. Yep, I think a lot of parents are like, yes, sure, yeah, I like that. But there's kind of this sense, it seems, of resignation and not, how do you practically implement this?
That's been stunning to me. Most of my previous writing, there's been some controversy. There've been people saying I'm wrong or I'm stupid. Here, I haven't yet found anyone who's disagreeing with me. Everyone has seized the problem. But there's a pervasive sense of, well, what are you going to do? The genie's out of the bottle. We can't roll it back. We have to roll it back. Our children don't have childhood. They're coming out in terrible shape. Academic performance is down. I mean, we can't just say, well, what are you going to do? The secret, the trick to getting out of this is to recognize that we all hate it. The kids even don't like it. The kids even say they wish these programs were never invented, but they're trapped. And so it's a collective action problem. And if we can coordinate, we can solve it collectively. So if you're a parent and you're listening to this, get on a text thread or talk to the parents of a couple of friends of your kids. If you all delay smartphones or if you all put certain restrictions on, then it's okay. Your kids will go for it. If they just don't want to be the only one.
All right. That is good stuff right there. That is good stuff right there. I will definitely be having a conversation with my children today about the smartphones and, how we are going to implement, taking a break because first of all, like it's about to be the end of the year. You're about to go and start testing and things like that. So we definitely need you focused for those end of the semester big old tests. Y'all know how they are. All right. So that was the Trend of Stories, World News plus more here at the Queen Tulsa Show. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on out and joining us on this rising. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for not parking on the lawn. And have a great day on purpose. All right. DJ, drop us down and crank the music.